Hi, and thanks for watching another instructional video for CSCI 1300. In this video, we will be talking about the scope of variables when they are passed to functions and how that changes when we return back to main. In this particular example, we have a function called foo. It takes in some integer called num and generates a variable called output and then returns that variable. So in this example, we are generating an input from user-defined input, and then we're going to call foo with that input from the user. And then we're going to see what happens when we enter the scope of foo compared to main, and what happens with the variables in main and what happens in the variables in foo as a result. Before I run debugger, which we're going to use to check out what's going on with these variables, notice that I've set breakpoints for both the function call after we finish and return to main. So after we're done here, we're going to continue, we're going to be able to look at what's still going on before the function finishes. And we also have a breakpoint here at the top of foo so that we can see what's going on inside of the function. So we'll step through foo when we get there as well. So I'm going to go ahead and run debugger. And I want you to pay attention to the variables up here and how their contents will be changing throughout the program. The first thing I need to do is I need to enter some input. So say I enter an input value of 10. I'm going to press enter. And the first thing that we can tell here is that output here is being tracked from the main, or from the function. Output is set to 0 here. And notice that num, which is coming from in here, this variable has junk in it from some other process, some other previous process. So now if we step through, the moment we actually enter the function scope, num contains the value that we passed from the user input. So now num has the value of 10, and output is about to be calculated using num. So we step through again, and we can see here that output became 2 because we took 10 times 2, which is 20, divided by 10, which would be 2. So output is now 2, num is still 10, but notice what happens when we go back to main. So we're about to jump back, and we finish now, and notice that both of those variables no longer are being kept track of. The reason why is because we have exited the scope of the function. Num and output were scope specific to the function foo. So when we returned back to main, we no longer had access to those variables because we had finished the scope or exited the scope of the function foo, where num and output are declared. And that is where they reside. They cannot be called from main in any way unless we pass in some input to take in one of those values. So we could pass in things here, but we could never access that after the function call unless we call a function again and start from the top. You can see here that input is being tracked because we put in a value of 10. So we're still looking at that, and then we finish our scope here and we finish our program. That's all for return values and scope for functions. Thanks and happy coding.